Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you to each and every one of you for your concerns, for all your prayers last Sunday. At least now today I can say I'm not like I was last Sunday. Today I'm much better. I feel much better. I feel way much better than I was last Sunday. Today at least I'm not in pain. Today at least I'm not in pain, though I'm still taking my medication. Today at least I'm not in pain. Today at least I did go for the service, of which I liked the service because we were being shown that we were being taught with regarding when Jesus was ascending now to heaven after he had preached for the 33 years. He preached the gospel, healing the people and all that. We are now being taught with regarding that part that Jesus says that I am going, but I'm going to leave you a helper. And the helper now here is the Holy Spirit. The helper now here is the Holy Spirit, of which it is said that this is a body, this is a body. This is a body. This is a body. Each and every one of us do have a body. Then we have a soul. You have a soul inside, and you have a spirit inside. So that's the reason why we are called the children of God. We are called the children of God. But once you become born again, you live from being the child of God. You live from being a child of God, now you become his servant. You live from being a child of God, now you become his servant. So once you get born again, you live from being a child of God, now you become his servant. So each and every one of us, no matter what capacity you serve God, as I told you once in a video that I made, no matter what capacity you serve God, no matter what capacity you serve God, just know you are a servant of God. So represent Jesus in the best way possible. Represent Jesus in the best way possible. And you can as well as preach, and not must you preach, but how you're going to live your life now, how you're going to live your life now, how you're going to live your life now. That is what people will feel, that they are attracted to you more so by how you live your life. People will feel attracted to you by how you live your life. Especially now that you're a servant of God, how you're going to live your life, and people can be born again by how you live your life. If they see that you are enjoying being a Christian and you're dressing, number one, you're enjoying being a Christian, you're dressing decently. Number one, you're enjoying being a Christian, you're dressing decently, and no matter what you get, even if you get a backlash from people, even if you're insulted for his name's sake, you don't be faint, you continue. You don't get to faint because you continue. No matter where you go, people are liking you. People are liking how you love. People are liking how you love. People are liking how you love, how you serve God in each and every capacity that you go to your church. Now the building, in each and every capacity that you go to your church, people are liking how you do it. People are liking how you pray. People are liking how you see, how you do your worship. People are liking, people have liked you the way you are. You're doing your things. People are liking the way you do your things. People are liking the way you do your things. You have got titles. You've got titles, but those titles have not made you. You've got titles. You've got titles. You've got titles, but those titles have not made you ridicule other people. Those titles have not made you ridicule other people and see as if you now see as if the other people are not of your class. You see as if, and you're not seeing as if the other people that are lower than you, that as if they are not of your class. You relate with people equally. You relate with people equally. You relate with people equally. You're very humble. You're doing all your things. That one says a lot. That one actually can make a person to be born again by how they see you're leading your life. That one can make a person that is not born again to be born again by how they see you're leading your life. So please live your life as an example. 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 Remember, we have a helper. And our helper here is the Holy Spirit. And our helper here is the Holy Spirit, of which Jesus now, when he was ascending to heaven, he did say that, not to worry, I am leaving you. I am leaving you, but I will send for you a helper. Not to worry, I am leaving you, but I will send to you a helper that will come. That will come and assist you. Have you ever prayed? Have you ever been in prayer? I'm going to ask this question. Have you ever been in prayer such that you're praying and you're praying like an hour or two? You're praying like an hour or two or an hour or so. Have you ever felt the power of God? Huh? Have you ever felt the power of God? Have you ever prayed? You're praying, and you're somewhere enclosed, and then now you feel the power of God there. You feel the power of God working. You get an encounter with God there and there. You get an encounter with God there and there. Have you ever prayed to God, then you start crying in the midst of all that? You find yourself crying in the midst of all that. Have you ever done that? You find yourself crying in the midst of all that. You find yourself crying in the midst of all that. And then have you ever been in worship? Then when you're in worship, you find your hands now rising. And you do not know what is making them to rise. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever found yourself like that? And for the people that write songs, have you ever asked them how they write their songs? Have you ever asked them how they write their songs and why they take time before they release another song? And why they take time before they release another song? Have you ever done that? You're a sibling to someone that writes songs. You're a sibling that someone that writes songs, but not writing the ordinary songs. Not writing the ordinary songs. Not writing the ordinary songs, but writing songs that will give that we use during praise. Songs that bring people to the kingdom of God, songs that do all that transform people, such that the person, now people are liking it more than they are expected to. Have you ever sat with one and asked them, how do you write these songs? How do you write these songs? How do you write these songs? Have you ever asked any one of them that question? Have you ever asked any one of them that questions? For me, because for me, I do listen. As I told you, I'm a media person. I'm a media person, and being that I'm a media person and I'm a media student, I love to listen. I love to listen. So normally, you can find me that if I'm at home, for example, and I've done my duties, I've studied something, I've read some things, I've read something that day. Now you're going to find me seated somewhere, maybe in the desktop, or seated somewhere in the sitting room watching the television. But sometimes you can find me listening to the interviews, listening to some interviews, like for example in YouTube. I go now and sit and listen to some interviews. Then I get to hear now the stories. Get now to listening to the stories of the great people that we celebrate across the world. Of the great people that we celebrate across the world. Because people do have different stories. People go through a lot before you become great. People go through a lot before they become great. People go through a lot before they become great. And as I told you, the people that I have sat with some of my lecturers. Of which some of my lecturers are my friends. I've sat with them. And let me tell you, my friend, the story that has made them great. For some of them, that is the story that has made them great, and what they go through, especially in fact some of them that are in the academia. Wow. The stories that I would listen from them, and what they have gone through in order to be called a doctor, a doctor, and to appear in some spaces. Normally, that's why I was telling. I remember on Friday before I went for prayers and before I went for Bible study, because we normally do have the prayers and the Bible study now in school, because I'm a member also of CU. I remember I told a person that is my friend that people should respect the people that are called doctors, because I told my friend that you know what people who have studied their masters, they've studied their masters, not one masters. They have studied their masters and not one. Some of them, in fact, they have done two. They've done two consecutive years, and they have done their PhD. That's the reason why I was telling that person that respect them. Respect people who do their postgraduate. Because it ain't an easy task to do. To do your postgraduate, it is not easy. It is not easy. That's why I was telling that person that in order to be in the academia, you have decided that you want to be in the academia and you want to be a scholar for the rest of your life. In order to be that, some of them, in fact, I was telling him, you can find a whole doctor that has studied their PhD and that is a lecturer, You can find, I was telling him that you can find a whole doctor that has studied that has studied up to PhD. You can find a whole doctor writing. You can find a whole doctor writing. A whole doctor that is a lecturer writing. Because he was asking me, why do we have the conference? Because on Friday we had two consecutive days of that day, of Thursday and Friday, we had conferences, of which he was now asking me, why are we having these conferences? I had to explain to him that it is normally not an easy task in order to present, to be in some spaces in the academia, to be in some spaces in the academia, and it's normally not an easy task again to present something. Especially in the conferences that they go. So I was telling him that if you see a whole doctor that has studied up to PhD, put respect to that name, because that person has gone through a lot. And in education, it is not an easy task. People think that it is easy to be in the academia. People think that it is easy to study your postgraduate and finish it. But then, my friend, it ain't an easy task. It is not an easy task. That's why we're told that that's why we are told that if you have done your undergraduate and you feel that you have the strength now to do your postgraduate, that's why I was telling him that's why I normally advise, and you're normally told that if you feel that you have now studied up to your undergraduate and you feel that you got the strength now to study up to PhD, and you feel that you have got that strength, I was telling him that majority of the people are normally told that come and study your postgraduate when you have got the money to pay. When you have got the money to pay, number one, when you have got the money to pay, and you know pretty well that you will create the time to study. And you will create the time to study. That's why majority of them are normally told, don't get to study your postgraduate when you have got your children, because the children will want you to be in their space. The children will want you to be in their space. So picture this. For example, I decide to study my masters. Yet I know pretty well that I've got my own children. Of which, as I told you, we as the children, we want our parents, our parent, to be in our lives. So picture this. I get my own children, and yet I'm studying my masters. And yet I've got the evening classes. Each and every day I leave work. I leave work, and I've got my own children. Will that not be hectic? Will that not be hectic? That's why I was telling him, some of them are advised and told that when you want to study for your masters, or when you want to study for your PhD, that's why I was telling him that some of them are told that don't study it when you've got your own children. Don't study it when you've got children to take care of. Don't study it when you've got children to take care of. Don't study it when you've got children to, especially the children that are underage. Especially children that are underage. Especially children that are underage, don't do it. Because my friend, those children that are underage, as I told you, some of them want to see their parents in their lives. And some of them want to see their parents. A parent can come and feed them, sorry. A parent can come and feed them, sorry. And for example, as a mother, the underage, they want to be nursed. They want to be breastfed. They want to be breastfed. That's the reason why some of them are normally told, when you want to study your master's or when you want to study your PhD, and you know pretty well you are married and you've got your own children, that's why some of them are normally told, wait for your children to stop being underage, then you will get the freedom now to be able to study it in a patient way, in a calm way, that is. You get the space and the time to study it now in a calm way. Yeah. So for the people that are young adults like me, it is high time we know when if for example like me, you decide to be advanced, let's say, I will have now to tell myself that I'm willing to study my master's. I'm willing to study my PhD. Why don't I get, when I'm free and when I'm young, why don't I? Because that's the time that I've got the time, I've got the energy. So for example, I would come and tell myself that, because I'm willing to do it, why don't I do it when I'm young? Why don't I do it when I'm young? Why don't I do it when I'm young? And don't misquote me in this, because education does not know age. Don't misquote me in this. For education, it does not know age. For education, it does not know age. But then, this is the advice I'm going to give some of you that are like me, that are young adults like me, and that now we are enjoying our youthful years. For the people that wants to study their masters, their PhD, why don't you decide you study it as a young person? Why don't you decide you study it in your youthful years? Why don't you decide to do that? Because this is a time that you've got the energy, you have got the energy, you've got the time, you've got the energy. Number one, you've got the energy. Number two, you've got the time and you've got the space to do it. You've got the energy, you've got the time, and you've got the space to do it. And if you know pretty well that education is not your thing, and if you I repeat, and if you know pretty well that education is not your thing, or being in the academia, it is not your thing, then my friend, it is better you look for something else. It is better, my friend, now to look for something else. Because as I told you, being a lecturer, number one, being a lecturer, being a counseling psychologist, being a journalist, these are not careers. This is a calling. These are not careers. This is a calling. And being a pastor, for example, or being a theologian, for example, these are not careers. These are callings. These are not careers. These are callings. And why? And what do I mean that they are callings? Take a lecturer, for example. Because some of the lecturers in some institutions, they are going to tell them that we have called you for an interview, for example. Then in some institutions, they normally tell them to sign somewhere, to sign a contract somewhere. Then they normally are told for the qualifications. Some of them are normally told that you have to have a master's degree, for example. You have to have a master's degree, for example. And then they're normally told that you will have, in order to be a lecturer in some institution, they normally tell them that, and you have to, and your grade for your undergraduate, you have to make sure that it was second class upper. It is second class upper. And they're normally told that in some institutions, for example, they're normally told that you have got to have an experience. You have got to have an experience. You've got to have an experience. So that's why in some institutions, you're going to see a few lecturers teaching. In some institutions of higher learning, the one that we call universities and college, that's the reason why you're going to see some, not many, some. And you know the reason why? Because the qualifications to teach in some institution of higher learning, the qualification was one. In your undergraduate, did you get the first class honors, or did you get the second class upper? Or did you get the second class upper? And then when you studied your masters, and then have you studied up to the master's level? Have you studied up to the master's level? And you have an experience. And you have an experience with people. Do you have an experience with students? Have you taught somewhere else? Have you taught somewhere else? That's the reason why to be a lecturer is a calling. To be a lecturer, it is a calling, and it is not for the faint-hearted. Then again, to be again in the academia again, it is also not for the faint-hearted. And what do I mean to be in the academia again? It is also not for the faint-hearted. What I'm meaning is, for the people that are in the academia, and they can attest to it, that in order for some of them to be in some spaces, in order for some of them to be in some spaces, for example, what do they do? In this case, some of them are so determined to read and to write. Some of them are so determined to read and to write. And what are they writing? Some of them are good researchers. Some of them are good researchers. So what do they do? Take for example, one of them want to write a paper. What are they going to do? They are going to take their time to research in the topic that they want to write, and then they're going to consult some people in order to get the information well, and then they're going to consult their laptops. If one of them do have a laptop, they're going to consult with their laptop, and then they now write. And in fact, some of them don't write. Some of them don't use AI or ChatGPT. Some of them don't do that, but they take ChatGPT and AI as tools. So that's the reason you're going to find some of them in some spaces, and you wonder why they are in such spaces. So my friend, outside here, people are really working. So my friend, outside here, people are really working. And people are really working. And that's the reason I said to be a lecturer, it is a calling. To be a lecturer, it's a calling. It is not a career. I beg to differ with that. It is not a career. That's why you're going to find some of them being called in some conferences. That's why you're going to find some of them being called to teach, to go to a workshop, for example. And that's why you're going to find some of them being called as guest speakers in some of the schools of higher learning in their graduations. So that's the reason why education, as I'm going to say it again, education is not for the faint-hearted, especially now for the people that want to study the postgraduate, that is the master's and the PhD. It is not for the faint-hearted. It is not for the faint-hearted, because you're going to be discouraged a couple of times. Because once you're done with your units, with the units that you're taking, for example, in your masters, they normally do what? They normally write. And what do they write? Take masters, for example, they write their thesis. They write their thesis. And they're normally called in a defense such that now the people that are supervising them and their lecturers, the people that are supervising them will come now and they will ask them, where did you get all this information? Where did you get all this information? Where did you get all this information? So in order to be approved as a master's student, and you know the only thing that you are remaining with is your thesis, is the writing of your thesis, then my friend, take your time. Take your time as you are writing it. Take your time as you are writing it. Because you're going to be asked questions of where you got your information. Of where you got your information. And also for the PhD. Yes, you're going to study. You're going to do the units. But then, also here, you're also going to write something they call dissertation. You're also going to write something they call dissertation. You're going to write also dissertation. Have you ever heard? That's the reason why in a layman's language we normally call PhD permanent head damage. But it is not like that. It is you're studying for your doctorate. It is you're studying for your doctorate. It is you're studying for your doctorate. That's why some of them, if you know pretty well you are good at teaching, if you know pretty well that you're good at teaching, that's why you're going to find some of the lecturers. So you're going to find some of the lecturers that are in the academia. They're going to tell you, once some of them become your friends, take for example me, they're going to see if they see that you're really going out of yourself. They give you an assignment. They give you an assignment. You're a student. They give you an assignment. You go out of your way. You go. You write something. You do everything, and they see that as if you're really struggling and you're not getting anything. They're going now. If one of the lecturers, for example, take my friend, the one I told you that is a doctor, that I call Doctari. You know what she told me? Marianne, learning is a continuous thing. You know what she told me? Learning is a continuous thing. You know what she told me? Marianne, learning is a continuous thing. And you know what again she told me? If you know pretty well, and then you know what she told me again? Now, Marianne, you do your best. The days that you're required to do your best. The days that you're required to do your best, you do your best. And then she told me again, do something you love. Do something you love. And so I'm going to advise a person that you've really struggled, and you're a student like me, or you're a young adult like me, or you work as a young adult like me. I'm going to advise you this. Do your best. You do your best. When you're required to do your best, you do your best. And then look for something that you love to do. Look for something that you love to do. And then again, she also told me, don't lose hope. Then again, she told me, don't lose hope. And the days that you feel that you're losing hope, and the days that you feel that you are losing hope, because each and every human being loses hope at some point, give yourself hope. Give yourself hope such that you're giving yourself hope, and you know you pretty well you're a believer. She told me also, the days that you feel like that, now pray hard. Pray hard. Because the devil here is now trying to tell you that he does not want you to succeed now. He does not want you to succeed now.